Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for another riveting Senior Care Digital Marketing Conference. I've got a fun one for you today. We're going to be talking about lead aggregators and how you can actually use local SEO and organic SEO, search engine optimization, to capture your own market share or recapture your own market share from what my 5-year-old daughter calls lead alligators. So I am going to be using that throughout today's presentation. So again, welcome to Local SEO for Senior Living, Outranking the Lead Alligators. Who am I? I'm Dan Gemp. I'm the CEO of Dreamscape Marketing. We work with clients in 39 states, a whole lot of medical care, residential programs, and all levels of senior living. We've won a whole bunch of awards. We've launched a whole bunch of websites, and we're very proud of ourselves. So where does the journey begin on Google, and how do we make sure that you're owning that traffic, that you're getting those inquiries directly to your community so that they're not intercepted by the lead alligators and gobbled up? And I want to talk through really the consumer experience. You want to have a nice, seamless, Google first, digital first presence that's branded for you as opposed to these lead generation groups. And I find some of their practices to be a bit predatory, a little bit alligatory, where they're limiting choice a little bit. We'll talk about some inherent bias and receiving a placement fee. They're actually getting paid to place your mother or grandmother at a specific community. I think it's a bit more authentic and definitely more transparent and ethical to allow the consumer to find you, whether it's paid ads, local search, or organic ads, to find you themselves, connect with you directly, and engage in a transparent dialogue. So that's where we're going with this strategy, is cost effectively, locally owning that market share. So first, let's look at these top paid positions. Assisted living, West Palm Beach. And you see the large publicly traded kind of operators, and then you immediately see lead aggregators. Then let's look over in the local pack for that same search, right? Assisted living, West Palm Beach. And you're going to see actual communities, but larger ones. But that's an equalizer. It's an opportunity for you to be in that local map pack, those local search results, and capture an awful lot of traffic. Below that, you're going to see the organic listings, and that's where your search engine optimization can get your website ranking higher than the lead alligators, right? But in that same search, it starts off with caring.com, Seniorly, A Place for Mom, Senior Housing Net, right? So all large media, kind of conglomerated media with a variety of business models and placement fees and such. So this looks pretty familiar to you. This is what you see in most searches for most localized independent living, assisted living, even skilled nursing types of searches. Statistically speaking, your future resident is clicking one of these. So there's not really somewhere else to go. They are doing this search, and whether it's the adult child or the resident themselves, they will be clicking on one of these things. So how do you compete? Well, ideally, you compete by showing up in all three places. It's pretty easy to see where actual community websites are getting the most traction. So you look at these paid positions and you'll see an actual community followed by a lead alligator, excuse me. If you like our little alligator icon here, that's custom. In the local pack, you actually see 3 local operators. You see options in that local pack, and that's where you should be. If you're not there, that's not very difficult to be ranking well in that map pack. Then in the organic spots, we just see alligator, 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 right? So all the lead alligators are there gobbling up the traffic and selling it back to you at a premium. If your community was ranking there because you were publishing content and using the tactics we're going to talk about today, it's a huge advantage. It's not only a competitive advantage, but it's a box out maneuver where you own that market share and a lead alligator does not. So how do we get there? A strategy that focuses on achieving top local organic search ranking through a combination of leveraging Google's platforms and optimized website content. Here are the rest of those page 1 organic results, by the way. So you do that search in West Palm Beach, and again, you see alligator, 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 alligator. 2 large publicly traded operators, right? But those are real authentic community options. and they're, you see our little bull icon. They're on the stock market, followed by another alligator, followed by an operator, alligator, operator, right? So out of those first 10 search results, only 40% of them, only 4 on the bottom half, are actual senior living communities. But the consumer wants to find a senior living community. They're looking literally for assisted living in this search. So by not doing our own SEO, right, communities have literally ceded the high ground to these lead alligators. You let them come in, do very aggressive digital marketing tactics nationwide, and they're outranking you for your own town, your own name, and capturing that market share and selling it back to you. So we're going to talk about a little bit of offense and a little bit of defense, but that is the direct competition that you're up against. As senior living marketers in the pursuit of our most important KPI, which is actual resident move-ins, right? We've tied ourselves to a single solution that has historically provided assurance, but found success. It's also created some complacency, right? When you're just able to buy a lead or buy a resident, you become dependent on that. And again, I think there are some serious ethical questions in play about whether that is the right thing for your residents, right? Are they really the best match for your community and vice versa? Ultimately, financially and reputation wise, there's some vulnerability here. So isn't it always going to be more authentic, better for you to engage in your own dialogue and generate your own inquiries, and quite frankly, own that market share? It's better for business. Why did the lead alligators invest in local SEO and digital marketing, right? It's the same reason that we all have to be digital first in this day and age, okay? The data tells us to. Most of your residents are going to actually start their search in digital. So senior care searches are actually up 20% year over year, okay? 6,000 per hour in the US in 2020. So everyone thinks that COVID actually trailed off demand for some reason or fear of death. It was actually not even in the top 5 decision-making criteria, right? It's still ability to pay, location, location, location. So COVID is a factor, but it did not decrease search volumes. It did not decrease digital presence. That's up 20%. Senior living near me. In 2014, it has a rating of 0. In 2021, it has a rating of 100. This is on our Google Google Trends keyword tools. Why go local with that, right? So everything is now a localized search. It includes a town name or a community name, right? Typically not a state. It's typically down at a metropolitan region. So I live in Baltimore, but I really live in Columbia, but I really live in Ellicott City. It would be one of those 3 keywords. Combined with assisted living, senior living, independent living, something like that. Why do we go local with this? Well, I'm going to use terms like hyper-local. It's because 90% of your move-ins are coming from within an 11-mile radius of a community. People are actually willing to travel further for dentist services than they are for a move-in, a residential option for senior care. So you've got this 11-mile radius, it's hyper-local, and that is a limited population. There are a fixed number of seniors in that region and a fixed number of adult children that might move their loved one to that region. Why are we focusing on Google? Google owns 92.41% of the search market share. It is so far beyond dominant, you could just go all in on Google as a primary strategy. Why now? Why am I saying this is the key to your strategy right now in 2021? Are we too late to the party? Didn't these big operators and these lead alligators already capture all that market share? Well, there's some unique timing in the marketplace and unique technology adoption, both before and due to COVID. But beginning with the baby boomer generation and going forward, technology adoption has given rise to new entry points for seniors to gather this information and examine their retirement options. So we've got digitally savvy seniors en masse, okay? 77% of people age 50 and up own a smartphone in the US. Not just a phone with a touch screen, right? I'm talking about late model iPhones, and they're savvy with them. They know how to use them. They're FaceTiming their grandchildren. That's awesome to see, right? 4 out of 5 seniors are going to be digitally savvy, mobile first. They're going to find your community specifically through Google search, or they're going to find a lead alligator specifically through Google search. They do read and trust online reviews. So your reputation and your Google My Business reviews matter more now than they ever have. And you're going to see other speakers on this topic. Adrian Leffler will be discussing it. And it's very, very important that you consider a long-term strategy for garnering good new reviews. 75% of seniors age 50 plus use social media on a regular basis. And they're actually the fastest growing demographic on Facebook. So it's not about millennials. They've been on Facebook the whole time. It's about their parents and older as this fastest growing segment. Adult children, right, are researching you with their own criteria in mind. So here's the interesting part. Their decision-making criteria is not the same as their parents, right? Their parents are examining a lifestyle decision. The children are examining a financial decision and a wellness decision. Location matters almost more to them than the senior. So they're going to decide on your community really before you get the chance to talk to them. Your sales team will not have engaged them before they decide if they want to engage you. And that is new to a lot of operators in the industry. They're used to the drive-by, stop in for a tour, person-to-person relationship. That opportunity is not there for you currently, right? And it's likely to stay that way because the consumer is now digitally empowered. They're going to do their own research and they'll choose you or not. What's the return on investment from this, right? The lead alligators are simply beating you and you have to outspend them. Well, not necessarily, right? Doing your own local SEO, and we have this at scale, very specific data points before and after COVID, but doing your own local SEO costs about 38% less by doing it yourself and generating those inquiries and move-ins through your own website. And that statistic is per move-in. So isn't it interesting? That's probably the markup or profit margin being charged by the lead alligators, right? And they're doing the same amount of local SEO, getting their own website to rank, taking your market share and selling it back to you at a 38% premium. So I'm challenging you to simply invest in your own localized search engine optimization. Publish content on your website, get it ranking higher, get some of these good reviews on the local map pack, and you're going to find yourself running a very efficient cost per move in business model. SEO also builds equity value as an owned marketing asset. So much like the equity grows in your house, if you own a house, over time, it's a bit of a compound strategy. You can put in the same labor every month, but a 50-page well-optimized website this year, if you put in the same labor, would be a 100-page well-optimized website next year. And you can rank for more and more terms and own more and more direct market share. So unlike paid ads, which you're essentially just renting, you might need those for immediate turnaround or some throttle control, but paid ads, you're just renting, and lead alligator services, you're just paying a fee. Your organic rankings are yours. You own them until some competitor is able to execute better, faster, stronger, and it usually means they have to spend more than you to try to capture your market share. So it's going to keep generating new business for you long term. There's an ethical consideration as well. So being mission driven, you're dedicated to a service career. You are in the service of our most valued population, our parents, right? You'd better treat my mother with respect. I'll tell you that much, right? But you've invested in creating this amazing place that they can call home. You're building community. You're creating a life worth living, right? An investment vehicle for them to find wellness and live well in their later years. So failing to rank well on Google search, I'm actually saying is a disservice, right? You can gain brand awareness at the beginning of the customer journey. And if you're not there, all this work you're doing to build a strong community and invest in your residents is invisible. So you're doing yourself a disservice. You're doing your brand negative value. No one will have heard of the great things you're doing. And it opens the door to lesser products. Those who outrank you are getting the move-ins. It is that simple. If you did not have a digital first strategy pre-COVID, your census went down. Those who did have a robust digital strategy, several of their censuses went up. And certainly their stasis levels were at least acceptable. So the illusion of choice, this is an ethical issue that I have a personal dilemma with. When a senior searcher engages with a lead alligator, okay, their information is just being gobbled up and they are going to be sold. They're only being shown a segment of the marketplace. And so it's not that there's an ethical issue with that business model per se, it's that they're only seeing the listings, they're only seeing the communities that are paying to participate. And so their best match, their actual lifestyle best match, may never actually be shown to them. It might not even be on the first page of search results. And so when presented with an illusion of choice, right, and knowing that the community that you're moving into is paying for you for that move in, I just think that that's a gray area. I think it's an ethical question mark, and this industry needs to really question whether that aligns with their mission or not. Your company needs to consider that. And let's talk about consumer bias. The lead alligator companies work on a commission structure, right? So doesn't it make sense that the highest paying community would get the first crack at leads? Okay. Individual community marketing fosters a complete and transparent view of the marketplace. So my preference as a digital marketing agency and as a content marketing expert is that communities generate their own inquiries and have their own footprint online and their own market share. I believe it's more ethical. It doesn't really have this issue with illusion of choice, and it doesn't lead to consumer bias, whether it's intentional or unintentional. It presents choice, consumer options. So there's actually a strategic reason that you should be looking at all of this. Assisted living West Palm Beach, okay? Are you getting awareness even if you're not getting clicks? Yeah, the higher you rank, the more often you show up, the better. Are you generating interest? Oh yeah. Are you converting through the decision-making process? Yes, when someone engages with your website, they're seeing great photography, stories about your staff and residents, a real community. So the argument for brand awareness is also an investment vehicle, right? The more people have heard of you, the more likely you are to get referrals from your own residents and the community at large. So this brand awareness reason, the top of your funnel, when we see search phrases like these, we know that it indicates a senior searcher in this early phase in the sales process, right? The discovery phase. They're just doing their homework, checking you out. They have no brand preference. They don't actually know the name of the community they're going to move into yet. They're looking to be educated and they are comparison shopping. So present yourself as a strong brand and a strong option in that marketplace. If 88% of consumers who begin their research online when considering a major purchase don't find your community at the top of the first page of their search results, you may never make it into their field of consideration. So top half of the first page of search results, otherwise you're arguably invisible to 88% of your market. Now, can you please two audiences? Yes, but you need to do it in the proper order. So your traditional marketing message, your brand, your amenities, your specialties, your differentiators, this pleases your new resident. They do care whether their rooms are lavish and whether there's marble and gold. It's not always a luxury pitch, but those differentiators matter to the resident. But first, your marketing needs to please Google. You thought I was going to say the adult child. The residents cannot find you if you aren't first pleasing the Google gods, right? So can you be certain that you know where your new residents are coming from? How do I know that it's Google? I'm not guessing, I'm not speculating. But here are the graphs for assisted living Florida and assisted living Palm Beach, okay? Consistent search volumes throughout, okay? This is the past 5 years. But here's the interesting factor. Assisted living Florida, there are not huge quantities of searches outside of the state of Florida. It's local. And so a lot of people tell me, oh, Florida is the mecca of senior living. Everybody moves there, right? No, they move there early in their retirement due to advantageous tax laws and reasonable property values and a nice sunny environment. So people move there earlier on. When they're searching for assisted living and senior care and those later in life levels of care, they're local. They're in Florida searching locally. And if they're downsizing and selling their home, they're selling their Florida home near the beach somewhere to move into your community near the beach somewhere. So of course, any results from assisted living near me are going to show that local result, or simply assisted living if someone lives in Florida is going to show a local Palm Beach searcher. So using Florida, arguably the most popular state, right, as our state level search, it's just been intriguing to see 10-to-1 ratio of that traffic coming from within Florida. So when I make this argument for hyperlocal, I'm saying all of your market demand is hyperlocal, right? In the most in demand state, it's 10-to-1 local. So our client data against Google's actually shows that 90% of move-ins are specifically in that 11-mile radius, right? Hyperlocal actually can yield free move-ins from that, right? That Google Map pack, your Google My Business listing, is free. So when we look at that radius, we just see that as an amazing opportunity to generate low cost or no cost move-ins. And you can feel confident that it's 90% of the people you're trying to reach looking at that. We can win this in 3 moves, okay? We're playing chess, not checkers here. Website SEO, retirement, Florida. You need to get specific. So we're talking tactics now, people. Geographically and a keyword, right? So a geography word like Florida and a keyword like retirement community or CCRC. That needs to be your optimized website text. Your pages need to be titled not services, right? Jiffy Lube has a services page, but senior living community or senior living services, right? You get the keyword in the website. You need to have your geographic terms in the content of your website, right? Now serving the West Palm Beach community, right? Talk about specific neighborhoods in West Palm. Talk about the county level, right? I believe it's Broward County. So optimize your site for these geographic terms and your service specific terms. That is step 1 to make Google happy. Google's goal is to deliver searchers the most precise answer possible and make sure that your website content is supplying those hyper-specific answers. Keyword variations. For every top keyword phrase, there are dozens of variations. You want to rank for both senior living and assisted living, as a quick example. Being aware of those is a key ranking factor because they can all contribute to your total web traffic, right? So you need to include those phrases in different formats throughout your website. And using research tools, Google Analytics is free and it's amazing. Google Search Console is free and it's amazing. These tools and more advanced services allow you to stay up to date, track the results, and compare search term trends. We actually use call tracking metrics software. We can see what keyword a person searched and what page they were on of your website when they decided to pick up the phone and call you. That data is extremely powerful. Step 2, this is how you win against the alligators. Content marketing. You must become a publisher. And I'm not speculating at this. We take our own medicine. If you Google senior living SEO, you will find our website at the top of search results. And it's because we use senior living SEO as a phrase and we define what it is. We are the definition of senior living SEO. So your content, a lot of this can be blog content, article format, question and answer format. A senior living blog whose content is consistently produced, where you're publishing not once or twice a month, but frequently, every 2 or 3 days, consistently would be a good pace. And it's well written and well optimized for search queries. That's your best vehicle to stand out in search results. And content that equally weighs this mix will please Google and a prospective new resident by answering their questions. Okay, so that Q&A format is called semantic search, the way you might interact with a smart speaker like Alexa or Siri. If you need ideas, start with your own list of keyword search phrases for opportunities, right? What would you search when you're looking for senior care for your parents or for yourself? And then look at variations of that. So how-to videos, right? A blog doesn't always have to be text. You could have an FAQ section chock full of videos answering people's questions. So one blog that answered 20 search queries at once. Okay, here's a quick example, is titled 20 Questions to Ask an Assisted Living Community. And every single one of those questions is something that a consumer would type into Google when looking for your services. So you could have one page that actually ends up ranking for 20 keyword variations. It's very powerful. There's a lot of multiplier effect in content marketing. So overall, become a net publisher and producer of content, and you will eventually surpass the lead alligators. They won't make the investment in producing that much content in just your location, right? Nationwide, they're producing a ton, but localized to your town, you should be able to outproduce them. What does your community, the local church, and the local Jiffy Lube all have in common? Services, right? Most of you will look at your website right now and you have a page called services or a page called locations. And I'm sorry, but that's the wrong approach. Titles matter, headlines matter. An easy SEO win that many communities fail to capitalize on is the incorporation of specific differentiators in your web page titles and headlines, right? Even your URL, if the page is communityname.com/services, a more powerful URL would be communityname.com/senior living services, assisted living options, FL for Florida, right? And I'm exaggerating a little bit. You don't have to go overboard, but including those specifics in your page URLs, the domain itself, in the titles of your pages and the top header, the main text title on your page, you are supplying Google with those most accurate answers that it's seeking, right? All Google really is software that can read words proactively. You can use their recipe, a well-indexed page URL, a strong title, and a headline that contains the keyword, and that is what Google is reading for at an 8th grade level, by the way. Win number 3, Google My Business. You've heard me talking about this already, but a complete, consistent, and optimized Google My Business account gets you into the Google Local Pack, and it gets 47.79% of the clicks. I'm not going to go into too much depth. Again, we have other speakers that are specializing in this exact topic, so please attend their sessions. But 70% of mobile searchers are going to use the click to call feature. So if 47% of people are looking at those results and clicking on them, and 70% of those people are just going to click to call you, that's amazing, right? You can capture a third of the search volume on your phone for free. So 70% of senior living and care customers will call during the consumer journey. Phone calls convert 10 to 15 times more revenue than web leads from forms. I cannot tell you how many of you are guilty of tracking forms and only forms, and you're not tracking your phone calls adequately with strong attribution channels, and that's worth 10 to 15 times more. Callers convert 30% faster than web leads. Your sales cycle, a phone call indicates they're later in the sales cycle by default. So it's a big opportunity for you. So while Google search and top rankings are where your new resident journey begins, the traditional goal of a phone call is where it should end. Phone calls, phone calls, phone calls. Google My Business gets more important when you consider that phone calls are going to be this top converting outcome. With these strategies, you can sink the alligators. You can win, you can become dominant in your marketplace, and keep the alligators at bay. So when you search senior living Boynton Beach, Florida, in a search for the primary service in their city, our client holds that #1 organic position, and it has been a game changer, ahead of the lead alligators. And it appears in the top 5 results in the local map pack as well. And it's a newer community website. If you search independent living Parkland, Florida, our client appears in the top 3 in the local map pack and holds #2 and #3 positions ahead of the lead alligators. So you don't have to outrun the alligator. You just have to outrun the competitor behind you, right? If you outrank these alligators and you outrank 1 competitor, 2 competitors locally, you will capture and own market share. The Oxford Dictionary, okay? SEO, it is a noun. It is short for search engine optimization. My fun example here is the actual example they provide. Digital is now the company's main marketing channel, with the majority of investment going on SEO. The Oxford Dictionary is defining that you should be putting a majority of your digital marketing investment on SEO. If you're not doing that, you're losing the race, and the lead alligators are gobbling up your market share. If you'd like to continue this conversation, and thank you again so much for attending the conference and my session, I can be reached directly by phone or email. My phone number is 443-535-6997, and my email is dgemp, That's DGEMP at dreamscapemail.com. Thank you again and have a wonderful rest of the conference, and hope to meet you all in person soon.